everybody should do something and find something that, is near and dear to their heart and then try to at least contribute in whatever way you can, right?
Right. I mean, there are so many, but I always feel like this is where the page comes in handy. The least I can do is share it.
Welcome back to the Talk Midland podcast. My name is Logan Richetti with Modern Realty. Today I have my friend Erica Piña with Live Local. It's her Facebook group.
Yep.
And we're going to talk all about that. And we're going to talk about networking and volunteering all over Midland.
Sounds good.
All right. So tell me about Live Local.
So I moved here. I started it 9 years ago. I'm a Midland resident. And when I came back from Chicago, I was very involved with festivals and events there. And I wasn't downtown, but I wanted to see that community. And, I just started saving events and sharing them on my own page. But then I thought maybe there's a group of other people who want to check a page and go, okay, it's Thursday night. The library's having unicorns there, or let's go support a Make-A-Wish event. Mm-hmm. So it ranges from all different events. A lot of them are family oriented, but I have a range of them. When I first started, I was a mom of young kids. So I kind of started it for myself. Like, I need a page where I can save all these events and not get them jumbled. And then, that was 9 years ago. And we're at about 3,000 members. I've grown it organically. It's a group. I monitor it. I want to make sure it stays focused on local, non-big chain, and other supporting events. So I really do monitor and make sure to be a member, all you have to do is say you're from the Midland area. So not big rules, but just keep it positive and supporting all the different events we have going on.
Well, I remember I just recently became aware of this group and joined the group, which is great. I think it's a wonderful idea that I was looking for myself because I feel like I have a hard time knowing what's coming up in Midland. There are so many nonprofit events, so many volunteer events, so many activities to do, and foundation dinners and fundraisers and things like that. Half the time I see them on Facebook after they occurred, and I never knew when they were coming up.
Right.
So having one central location, a Facebook group, where you can go and you can learn more about what's coming up in Midland, what type of activities that you can be part of and take part in, I think is a really good idea. So way to go.
Thanks. Yeah.
And you have said 3,000 members.
3,000 members. I started it 9 years ago, and I came here from Chicago back with events, having my own event company in DC and Chicago, and I got a really good background on creating experiences for Groupon, where I work too. Right before COVID, I was full steam starting to think of putting together like a month package of maybe a hotel room, and then you could go get a wine tasting and chocolate downtown. COVID I lulled on that and everything, but there are some things I'm like, okay, I got this group. I want to engage more people to share, not just me, like everyone share their events as well, and kind of move forward with a bigger plan that, I got a couple things that I'd like to do with it besides just sharing the events, like really get people really involved.
So one of the things that you want businesses and people to do are go into the group and then share their events as they come up, so you're not the only one doing the sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I share a lot, and I always laugh. I'm like, I wonder how many people might have unfollowed because I share so much. But that's why I made the page. And I a lot of people hit me up or call me and say, hey, can you share this? And I'm always like, well, you can. So I'm trying to put it a little bit back because it's really not that hard. When you're a member, you just hit, you're from the Midland area. And then I just see the event to make sure it's an event and it's not just, like somebody just trying to sell something. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of other pages for businesses to sell something. So I'm really created on events and local restaurants, local businesses, especially if they offer something unique, to share it on there to get the word out. But yeah, that's my big push, is getting other people to share. And I have them with me, but I have a little, you might see them downtown in a lot of businesses. It's our little Live Local. I call it a badge. So when I go into business, I give it to them. I say, hey, if you share, you're automatically a member. I'll share it if you're busy, but you could share as well. And then they all put them in their windows. So when you go downtown, you'll, maybe I could have a scavenger hunt. That's an idea.
There you go. That's a great idea.
There's just a little patch that I give them.
That's pretty cool. Tell me about your events business.
So I have an event background from Washington, D.C. I moved there right after college. I was with Dave Camp, and then I went on to plan corporate law events and conferences around the world. I did some more festivals in Chicago, and then when I moved back, I came back as a mom, kind of took a lull, worked at Dow, and then the Humane Society came to me and wanted me to do their gala. And I think they did it for 2 years before I took it over, which has now been 9 years. And, I kind of left Dow and was like, here I go, back to events. I just didn't dream I'd be able to do events back in Midland, the scale I was doing and living off of in a bigger city. But I'm a mindset person. I said, let's do it. And I have other events, but Ties and Tails is my biggest gala. We work to raise almost $200,000 at the country club every fall.
Wow.
Come in with different themes. People get really dressed up. It's a great event, and it's for a great cause. And with that, been able to add, I'm doing some doctor conferences, and then I do a lot of nonprofit stuff just around town with my Gleaners Club, and then getting involved with the Chamber, and then Rotary. So
You're a busy lady.
yeah.
Well, Ties and Tails Gala is one of my favorite galas every year. It's one of the few that we always go to, and
Yep.
it's just so much fun. So last year the theme was what was the theme last year? It was I can't remember.
All right, hold on. I was just working on the past themes because this year's James Bond.
Okay,
Your
yeah.
birthday inspired me. I already told Morgan when I saw it I was going to do that. This year's James Bond, and last year was Elvis. How can I forget?
That's right. Yeah. Okay,
Elvis.
so I had a surprise 40th birthday party with a James Bond theme.
Yes.
And so that was how you got the idea to
Right.
sponsor, to theme this coming year's Ties and Tails Gala as
Yes.
the James Bond theme, right?
Yes.
I love it.
Morgan knocked it out of the park, and it was so fun. I want to talk to Deke. I think a little part of the gambling could be happening. It's always, I love events when there's something extra to do.
Yeah.
I can sit. I don't mind sitting in the bidding. Your table was one of our loudest bidder tables. I mean, the whole point everyone knows is they come together, and the live auction is really, besides the sponsors, the live auction brings everything in, and that's what I work really hard on, is creating unique experiences people will bid on. Like your dog is our mascot, Lincoln, and
Not my dog.
okay, well, your
Just kidding.
stepdog, no.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's great when the community comes and they start the auction and everyone's having fun, and it's a loud. I mean,
Crazy.
it's fun.
Well, I don't think a lot of people realize how much work, preparation, organization, coordination, all those things go into executing an event like that.
Yeah.
You have to find the venue. You have to coordinate the food. You have to coordinate the theme. You have to coordinate sponsorships. You have to organize it. You have to have volunteers to set it up. You have to have
Right.
great items to bid on. You have to have great sponsorships. There's so much that goes into something like that. And then you have to sell the tickets and get people to want to show up.
Right.
And then you have to blow them away. You got to have music. You got to have a DJ or some kind of a maestro or whatever. There's so many things that go into putting on a 2-hour event like that. It takes months of preparation, right?
Right. Yeah. As soon as it's done, I already get the next date. Right now, I'm working with Annie Paper Heart, and we actually just went off a 1970s Bond movie, Diamonds Are Forever. So it's Diamonds and Rescues Are Forever. And she's great because I could just kind of give her a couple examples, and usually the first 2 mock-ups, I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
So, it really starts from that promo and then starting to post about it and then working with the florist and everything. And that's the fun part for me. I've done events my whole life. Like, I actually found an old journal when I was 8. If I was allowed to have a birthday, it was like Cabbage Patch theme. Like, I guess even though I didn't go to college for it, that's just something I got into. But for me, with all the nonprofits and everyone in Midland, I think is so important and key to be at other events and sharing their stuff and making them goodie baskets and being there and promoting it. But my biggest pressure as the event planner is, I would say 90% of my job is fundraising. And I had sales background, so it's really a sales job. But you start at 0 and you're trying to get to 200,000. Like, that's what keeps me up at night. The event part is the fun part for me. It is stressful, but I'm like, oh, I know, like, that's the fun part. But it's the fundraising and sales. And I've always learned there's enough sunshine for everyone. And that's why I try to go to as many as I can as a mom, go to other events, give them a goodie basket, promote their stuff, help sell, connect people where it makes sense. We're a smaller town than Chicago, but there's enough connections where people come in the way they can and support how they can. And I'd rather be there happy for people than to go, well, why did they give that to them and not animals? You just got to keep moving. And if one door shuts, just go on. We all have different causes.
Well, there are so many philanthropic people in Midland.
Right.
Midland is a very generous community, and there are a lot of opportunities to give.
Right.
And, for example, I think last year's Ties and Tails Gala, I think, was the day after the Self-Love Beauty Gala or within a couple of days.
That's why I couldn't go, because I was setting up shop.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've volunteered and helped out with that
Yep.
organization in the past, and I know they have the same struggle. There's the operational side of executing the programs and the events, and then there's the fundraising side. And those are two completely different skill sets and different challenges that every nonprofit seems to face.
Right.
So I think it's wonderful that you are so interconnected to some of the other organizations that are raising money and trying to fulfill their missions. And I think that's great that we all work together so well to help each other. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. As a business owner, you know how many times you're asked. And, with me, when I look at the auction items and a lot of the silent auction and the live auction and my volunteers, it's all somebody that I know in some way. And it's just great to see that, because I will give to anybody if I can give. And I don't look for them like, hey, I gave you that, so you got to be at my event and do that. Because the universe just put out good and it'll come back. And it works in different ways. And, just we all have crazy lives and different things and kids. But, I love the Self-Love Beauty that is now
Lead.
My daughter's just about to get to the age. Actually, in D.C., I started a nonprofit and did at 25 an event for 100 girls. And my big thing was I wanted them to know at 13 and 14, like, look at the senator, look at all these different women in D.C. Sorry, good sidetrack. But that was my first major event at 25, is I had 100 girls. It was sponsored by DLA Piper. And I brought in women to sit with them and do breakouts and be like, you're getting bullied, or you might not have a ton of friends, or you might be down on yourself, but you're 13. When you're 18 and in college, you'll look back and go, wow, I'm glad I didn't hurt myself or do something major. Like, you'll get through it. We've been through it. I've sat in a bathroom alone, not at the cool table, eating my peanut butter sandwich. Like, those things are major, and that's what I try to tell my daughter. I'm not saying they're not, but you will get through it. So when I met Lisa, I was like, good, you're already doing that. If I can come in and help with that, I'm not going to reinvent that here. It's already been done. And my daughter's 11, so I think she can start doing the program, and I'm so excited. It's already here.
Yeah, when Finley was born, my whole outlook on little girls changed and the needs of their emotional well-being and their growth. And I think you have a daughter that's had struggles with school and different things like that. And all of our kids at one point or another have a struggle of some type. And so having a really good self-esteem and having really good self-confidence and understanding that at the time, even though you're 12 or 13 years old and something's going wrong at school and it's your whole life and it's this emotional, huge thing, but in the long run of your life, it's no big deal. But you don't know that when you're that age. So that's why I got so involved in that particular organization, was just because I believed in the mission so much. And it's just like the Ties and Tails idea too, with the Humane Society with the animals and saving animals and things like that. It's real easy to get caught up in the emotional connection that these institutions, champion and help out with. So I think it's great that you're so heavily involved in all that stuff. You're also involved in Rotary. Tell me about Midland's Rotary. What is it like?
I do noon. I don't. There is a breakfast one. It's just with getting kids out the door. The noon one works.
So let's go back a little bit. There are 2 Rotary groups that you can be part of?
There's a morning, and I don't know what day they meet on. There's one. They meet once a week, and then the noon one is on Thursdays at noon at the country club.
Okay.
You can come in and you can do a buffet, or sometimes I've already eaten. You just sit down and it's cool. You'll be sitting next to the sheriff, business owners. Everyone's there for creating a common good, a common goal, and all the stuff we do all year to support students and Rotary. So it's
the mission is for students?
Yep. It's more all for youth and why am I blanking? The exchange students. Yep, okay. And we have many other programs for youth too, because it's a worldwide. You can go anywhere and find a Rotary group. We have visitors from all over, or students who come back.
Yeah, that's neat. And it's only it's a couple $100 a year, so it's not very expensive to be a member, right?
Right. Yep, just a couple $100, and we really like to help with cleanups. Everyone's kind of all hands on deck for the pancake dinner, and we all get like our little tickets that I think we pay $5, so it's like a donation. I just give them out to the community,
To
And
join the pancake dinner
right,
or breakfast,
right.
which is at Dow High.
Yep.
Yeah, I would go to that a lot. Yep.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And it's just nice because everyone's busy, but a lot of people take time to be there. And the committees I've joined, you could be sitting there with our new superintendent, and she'll speak. And it's just nice to have those ties of like you kind of got that Rotary tie.
Cool.
You know.
So in addition to network, it's really a networking play for people that want to get involved in the community, want to be of service, want to be in a network, but also meet different people that you can kind of mingle with that maybe you wouldn't otherwise be, running across.
Right. Right. And every week, if you get into different tables, I mean, I go and I still meet someone new every time.
Cool.
Which is, sometimes you sit a distance from someone and it's like, oh.
I know that person.
Yeah.
But you never talk to them. Yep.
Right.
Bump into them in the buffet line, and next thing you know, you're pals.
Yeah, especially too with being an event planner. And then they put their event, you can go in the beginning, they put out brochures or you can announce your event as well. And, everyone's very supportive because I think Midland has now almost 100 nonprofits. So there's always.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you go, most of them are going to be on the Give Local May 7th. If you scroll through it, most of them have something on there and there's almost 100. And that's counting like baseball, all the foundations. So
Yeah. What other ones are you involved in or that you participate with?
And another one I'm a treasurer of is called Gleaners. It's a life insurance society. They found me to give me money for the Humane Society, and I became a member because every year I report to them and we get a lump sum of money, and we try to touch as many nonprofits and groups. So like Laugh for Life's coming up, and I give them Life Center, Resource Center. We always go buy them a whole bunch of baby items. And then I was like, well, we
Life
could
Clinic?
write.
Is it
Yeah,
Life
Life
Clinic?
Clinic.
Yep.
And I said, well, you have a Laugh for Life. We can give you $500. And it's nice. We have a meeting and we vote on it, and I'm the treasurer. But we'll go drop it off. And then we have to do 4 impact events. So this year we did a movie theater event where everyone could just come on Valentine's Day with your families, and we paid for it. We did CPR. We're working with the Loons, and I just talked to the executive director of Big Brother, Big Sister, and whatever big brother and sister want to come with their guests, their little sister or big little brother, we're going to pay for it and give them a food voucher. And actually, anyone who has ideas, if you can come to our meeting and kind of give us a background, we like to partner and we like to give it out, and then we have to do like 4 very interactive, our own events. So
this is for Gleaners.
Yep.
Where do you meet?
We meet at Grand Traverse Pie Company.
Cool. Once a quarter, once a month?
It is the second Thursday at noon. So I have to take a break from Rotary.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just do so much volunteering. You always are going from one thing to another. What other things do you enjoy taking part in?
Well, besides, what I really am trying to get together is my kids are so busy with their sports, and I got 12, 11, and 5. But I love, like, with Gleaners, like, we're going to do a police appreciation luncheon, and they'll come help. And I'm trying to instill that into them, so as much as I can get them involved. I've seen you brought Finn to the Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
And, you don't last the whole time.
Yeah.
But that's what I want my kids to look back. That's why I like events. Life's only about memories and giving back, and that's all they'll remember when they grow up. Like,
Well, the other day I brought Finn to the Make-A-Wish Foundation dinner, and she had no business being there. She was the only child there,
I don't know. There was.
Wow, there weren't many. There's a couple of newborns, but certainly it was not an event geared for 5-year-olds. But you know what? Morgan was sick for one, and for two,
Right.
I wanted Finley to be involved in the community and to see what it is like to be at an event like that.
Right.
And the whole time we were there, she was asking questions like, why are we here? What is this lady talking about? And what is Make-A-Wish Foundation? And what happens if, a child gets sick? And what does it mean to have cancer and leukemia? And I think even though she's 5 years old, and she probably was too young to be at that event, and she only lasted an hour and a half, I felt that as a dad, I was doing a good job of exposing her to some of the different things that happen in life. And childhood cancer and death is part of life, and it's not a happy thing to talk about or think about. But I wanted her to know that happens. And
Right.
I wanted her to know that there are people in our community, too, that are pulling together to donate money to help with Make-A-Wish Foundation and what they do, and which is a cause I believe in. And Glenn from our office is very involved in it, so I wanted to support
Okay.
him. And Modern Realty did some sponsorships
Yep.
and put some money. But also, I had to explain to Finley what a donation is.
Right.
And,
At 5.
At 5. Well, I'm
Yeah,
so glad because now she understands what it means to donate money and to
right.
donate resources and to volunteer. And now she wants to help and be part of it. And
Yep.
so as a dad, I'm trying to expose the kids to these things at an early age. And also it incentivizes me to be more involved and to be a better role model for the kids.
Hmm.
And as to the importance of going to events and sponsoring and making donations and contributing where you can. A lot of people don't think about it, but it's our responsibility as members of the community to try to help in ways that we can. And you can either help with your time and resource or your
Hmm.
money, right? Those are the main ways to help.
Right.
And time is really hard to donate sometimes, and money is really hard to donate sometimes, but
Right.
everybody should do something and find something that, is near and dear to their heart and then try to at least contribute in whatever way you can, right?
Right. I mean, there are so many, but I always feel like this is where the page comes in handy. The least I can do is share it.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't attend or
Yeah.
whatever, but I think involving her at this age, like my kids, when we buy stuff for the resource center, Molly loves to come. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's baby would like this. And it's
Yeah.
just those little things of that are tangible. So they see the donation
Yes.
and, every birthday, if they get money, their 10% has to go to the bank and 10 has to go to where they're going to donate it because they need to, if they don't learn it now,
Yeah.
the way I was raised is so different than the kids, and I try. And they'll be like, "Oh, you didn't do your chore," but they're ready to ask for money. So I'm trying to like reel that in, like earn it, because mom's not buying them cars. I already told them. I
Yeah.
learned a lot from having to provide for myself, and I just see how some of our generation is.
Yeah.
I'm not raising the kids I was raised. I'm trying, and I'm trying to remind myself, but I want them to earn, and I think donating and seeing that, I want my kids to have hearts of compassion. And they'll see a veteran out to eat, and they'll be like, "Mom, can we buy him dinner?" And I'll say, "Okay." And then you got to do an extra chore because I'll do it.
Yeah.
But,
You gotta
and
contribute.
they just love to see someone smile or sneak out. And we're like, "Oh, that was,
Yeah.
there's nothing better than anonymous if you can."
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah, for sure. I'll never forget. This is funny that you bring that up. I might have been 10 years old. This was in Midland, back when we lived in Midland back in the day. And I just remember walking into a McDonald's and there was a homeless guy trying to order food, but he didn't have a lot of money. And my dad went around and bought him a meal and had it delivered to him and kind of stayed away from that interaction, but just
Right.
provided the meal. And I'll never forget how impactful that was to me.
Right.
Growing up as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, however old I was, and my dad didn't even mention it, didn't say what he was doing. He was just serving another human being that was having a hard time, and he made a very small gesture that helped that man have a meal, and he did it just out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah.
And that's stuck with me ever since. I'm getting emotional about thinking about it 30 years ago.
Because it's going to stay with you forever. And that's the invisible giving.
Yeah.
I get giving, and I have my own events. So sometimes it's like to help other people. And I'm like, well, maybe they'll help me with mine. But the invisible giving where you check yourself and you're like, what have I done that's unseen?
Yeah.
And to see that so young and just see your dad do it just because and not want the glory from that guy or whatever.
Right.
Like you can't, that's what a good role model.
Yeah, that's what's so beneficial about that interaction was the profound lasting effect it had on my development in the way that I hopefully have compassion and generosity and things like that. Those are personality traits I think that are developed through example.
Right.
And so definitely want the kiddos to try to promote, generosity and giving and service and those things to the kids as their role model. And it holds me accountable to trying to do a little bit better in terms of, being involved and contributing in whatever way we can.
So I think, and you already are one of the biggest philanthropists in Midland.
I don't think
and
so.
And you already do these big family events, but maybe we pair it with a drive sometime. I'll be right there with you.
I
We
know
get
you
the
would.
kids there and we all show up for a project or and one of your things, we bring more. And you probably do already do that because you're always giving, but
Well, Modern Realty donates and sponsors a lot. I try to always say yes to everybody, but it's always
hard.
Well, I try to do a limited amount,
right.
and then I try to say yes to everybody. I get $3, $4, $5, $10,000 requests all the time, and we just can't afford to donate every day like that.
Right.
But we do try to, if I ever get a 4-H club little girl comes in asking for a sponsorship for 4-H, or Midland High School pom pom and things like that. anytime a kid comes in and actually pitches asking for money, they always get it in our office. Because I think it's so rare that young adults and kids even have the courage to walk into a business and
Right.
ask for something. So I admire that when they do. And, once in a while we'll have, a T-ball team or a soccer team or softball inside of the office for a kid. And one of my agents will say, hey, will you sponsor this? And I say, sure. All you got to do is bring the kid in and pitch me for the money, And if they do, they get it.
That's the secret.
Yeah. Because I want them to take ownership of that action and learn how important it is to go
You
in
have a
and
surge
ask.
of kids at your office.
Oh,
No,
it
I'm just
happens all the
kidding.
time. When I was a kid, I was too shy to do that. I didn't have that type of personality yet at 8, 9, 10 years old. I remember being, Boy Scouts or whatever, baseball
Mm-hmm.
fundraiser, trying to sell popcorn and stuff and thinking how hard that was. But, I just want to always encourage and promote and help little kids when they're taking initiative like that. The other day, Kevin's son hit me up for something. And I remember Kevin Crampton's little boy when he
Yeah.
was this big. Now he's a grown up, and I just said, wow, I can't believe how articulate and mature he's grown up to be. And I said, whatever you want, kid, I got you. So it's good to be, and it makes you feel good when you donate if you give back a little bit to the community. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
So I like to try to do that as much as I can without going crazy. But so other than donations and events and volunteering, what other social organizations are you involved with in Midland?
Let's see. We did Gleaners, Rotary. Well, I'm a member of the American Legion, and it's a historic building.
Cool. What's that about? Tell us about that.
When my grandfather passed, we didn't have anywhere to have his reception, and my husband's family had a tie there, and he's like, call the Legion. And within 2 days, Nels, the kitchen person, was like, we'll have it. It's this much per person, which is like nothing, like just come and relax. So that day I was like, can I be a member you could be a member under a grandfather or a family member.
Cool.
So we went there. We love it. Baseball, Berry Hill is their big thing. It's the kids love, they walk in. I don't know if you've ever been in, there's trophies everywhere.
Where is this one?
This is on Hedgewood.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yep. And they're known for their baseball. And, this weekend my aunt's like, hey, I don't really know how to do it on Facebook, but we're having a roast beef dinner. So I've been trying to help them. But I come from a veteran family, and veterans are very near and dear to me. So I love to just come into veteran stuff, and we'll buy them dinner or do a dinner and, help where I can with them as well. But
What do you know about Berry Hill's baseball team? Do you know anything about it?
I know it's legendary. I know it's strong in Midland. I mean, the trophies that we have, you can't even count them all. And they have a league of the Midland OG, men who've been involved forever. If you ever go in Berry Hills in town, you'll know they're all there eating at Burger Night. And they have a big fundraiser in February, which they get tons of donations and raffles. And it's like a little February Valentine's weekend dance. It's fun.
Well, Berry Hill growing up was what that was my idols.
Yeah.
Because I loved baseball growing up. My brother and I were both really into baseball. We both played college baseball. And so all the way growing up in Midland, especially my brother, who was a little older, he was on the 13-year-old team that in his year went to the World Series.
Oh, my gosh.
And I got to be part of that as, the bat boy, and I got to wear the coat and everything. And that was such an exciting time. He and I both always wanted to play for Berry Hill, and they're legendary. And I don't know how it is, but this area just produces a group of high school baseball players at a very, very high level.
Yeah,
which is
our
wild.
high schools.
Yeah. And,
I don't know why, but I remember growing up, like, if you were talking to a baseball player or going to the game, and they were usually doing pretty well, and Berry Hill was kind of like the idols.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it works because, the Little Leagues are really good, and then the Little League All-Star teams are really good, and then it moves up to Berry Hill, which is an American Legion, level.
Right.
I've coached baseball at Dow High for a few years when I came back with Kip Harris, and the high school teams are okay, but they're not winning state championships year after year after year. So it's just interesting how putting the regional group of kids together, they have enough stars that they make a team that's very, very successful every year. So.
Well, did you know, and I knew this, when I was moved away, I heard about it, but now going to Jefferson where my son goes for track, there's no baseball field. Like my husband's like, where is the field? And it's all overgrown.
Yeah.
There's no more junior high softball or baseball. Not at the schools.
Really?
And when I was little, that was the big thing at Jefferson, like try out for softball, baseball. Most of them are coming right off the field from other teams. And you have to go, it's not till Dow and Midland High now.
I didn't know that. So if you
Yeah.
have a high school kid in middle school, where do they play sports?
Through the clubs.
To the clubs? That's it?
Yeah. But it's so different. Like,
Yeah, that is different.
so what happened, I remember hearing this when I didn't live in town. The middle school sports programs got cut. Midland Community Center came in. So like my son's track, I pay through the community center. His basketball, I pay through the community center. So it is school affiliated,
Gotcha.
but we lost the baseball and softball, which I mean,
It's a bummer.
yeah, because I think that might too, as a feeder into Dow High, be more
In Midland too, yeah.
strong. But yeah,
So
things have changed.
you live on the west side of town.
Right.
You had an event a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Your house flooded when the dam flooded.
Yeah.
I remember walking through your house afterwards and seeing,
Yes.
yeah, the devastation and seeing. I remember Sturgeon Creek Parkway and Sturgeon 2 or 3 feet underwater.
Right.
What was that like going through that?
Well, it happened in 17, but it was just our basement.
Mm-hmm.
So that night, the kids were hearing it, and I'm like, every time it rains, my little kids remember all the stuff going down the curb. So they're like, Mom, it's gonna flood every time a storm. I'd be like, no, it's not. So even that time, I was like, no, it's not. It's not gonna flood. And we were kind of just waiting it out, and then I think it was our agent, Mark Bone, texted me, and he was like, I know where you live. Don't panic your kids, but just tell them to grab some stuff and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went downstairs and brought everything upstairs. And then we were so bad because we were on the creek, it came up 1.5 feet in our main floor, which was odd. We went to my parents. I had my pop-up out, and we were just trying to, keep it happy for the kids. But all we could see was aerials from national news. I'd be like, I think I see our roof. So, yeah, it was more devastating for the kids because they were little, even if it rains. Now Everett knows about it. But it did show... I mean, a house is a house. You've seen what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy, but it really formed who we were. We're a strong, tough family. We've been through it twice, and it really helped us let go of material things. I think the saddest things were like if it was a baby blanket that got hauled out. But yeah, I mean, until you have a flood or a fire, you just kind of really learn that this stuff's not what
matters.
Not what matters. So.
Yeah, I remember I have a very, very vague memory of 1992, I think.
Oh, yeah.
My dad walking down into our basement with a trash bag, trying to catch the wedding photos and stuff before they floated away.
Yes, I keep those in the attic now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we're still on, I call it Schitt's Creek. With the market, we're just kind of holding tight right now. But
Well, there
we
was
love the side of town. It's just...
Oh, it's a great side of town. And, there was a lot of devastation over there. I actually... after the flood, there were many, many homes that were destroyed or nearly destroyed, and they needed to be rebuilt and renovated and things like that. And some of those owners in those properties didn't want to rebuild, so they had to sell their houses as is and hope that the insurance kind of made them whole.
Yeah.
But by and large, if you drive down through Sturgeon Creek Parkway or any of those little sub streets, Wintergreen and Court and everything, they're looking good.
Right.
Everything's back.
Everything's back. I think I noticed one house is totally gone because the city will buy some, and it was like right up on the creek. I was like Googling GIS, like, why is that gone? And the city bought it. There's one more house by us that needed to be rehabbed, which we kind of like, why didn't we? Well, we were too busy, but I was like, we could have bought it. It sold for like $30,000. But we really appreciated it. I remember reaching out to you because my husband sold his house, and he was just like, I'm done with this area. And I said, you know what? Logan's talking about it. Let's get him over here. And, it was kind of like peace because you do flipping, and you're like, you know what? You can do this. Keep your equity. Like, don't make a quick decision. And that helped us because that was our deciding factor to hear what you said.
Yeah.
And, the kids, we stayed. We were actually only gone for 3 months, and we're still working. Like, we're just getting new siding, windows, and stuff this year. But, now the kids love the area. They only want us to look in the area because they're riding their bikes everywhere with their friends. But we did stay, and I'm glad we did because, it would have been a panic move, and we would have lost a lot more than we'll gain one day.
Yeah. I remember when all that was going down, as a real estate agent and as just a community member, I was helping a lot of people clean out their basements and just, helping people through the hard time with volunteering and whatnot. And also I teamed up with a builder, and we bought a couple houses from people that didn't want to go through the hassle and the expense of rebuilding their house. So we were able to give them, reasonable cash offers to walk away and not have to deal with the construction and months of renovations and headaches. And we were able to, I think, 7 or 8 houses we bought and renovated and brought them back to their former glory.
Which helped out the area.
Yeah,
because
which
they
was
got
really good for the inventory. Yep.
Yes, I had a lot of neighbors who went through the first one, and they actually pulled up when we were leaving,
Yeah.
and they're like, "What's going to happen?" Had their dogs, and two of them, I
Yeah.
still know them, see them in town, but they never came back.
Yeah.
And their friends' parents, and I just it switched over, and the houses got done, and new families are in it. But because
It's
that's what
hard.
my husband's like. What if half these houses sit?
Yeah.
Who wants to sit in a neighborhood like that? But
Yeah, it could have been really bad if entrepreneurs and investors didn't step up.
it would have been
It would have been really bad, and there's
right,
obviously two sides to that coin and whatnot. But I remember talking to you and your family about it, and trying to encourage you, and I tried to encourage everybody that could to hang on to the house and try
right.
to go through the hard renovation process, get a good contractor, and go through the mental struggles that are involved with renovating a whole house. But at the end of the day, it'll be financially better than the alternative option. But a lot of people just didn't want to deal with it. They were made
Mm-hmm.
whole with insurance. They were, like you said, they'd gone through a flood 2 years prior to that. They were just tired of being in that area. And ironically, everybody was so worried about the post dam failure having a flooding issue be a reoccurring issue after that. But for whatever reason, the flow of water has been pretty good since the dam
Right.
failure, and we haven't had a flood in 4 years. Isn't that ironic? Yeah, I know. Jeez, knock on wood for sure.
No, it is. Our record's good right now. Yeah.
Well, I remember I have a house on Wixom Lake, so I
Yeah.
remember looking out at what used to be the river slash lake and seeing the flow of water and thinking, how is this going to flood? The water's just flowing straight through. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it's going to, back before the dams failed, they controlled the level of the water for the lake. And
Right.
that's oftentimes what caused the flooding was, just too much water being mismanaged and
Mm-hmm.
coming at the wrong times and whatnot. But so far, knock on wood, like you said, it's been okay. And obviously, they're putting the dams back together, and that's eventually going to occur. And so
Yep.
hopefully, we'll be able to manage it well and keep everybody happy. But yeah, I'm glad that you made it through that. That was a tough time for
It
sure.
was it was tough, and when those memories come up, I still
Mm.
tear up. But I don't like to ask for help. But I remember it was Memorial Day weekend. We were finally getting in. I just remember I finally posted, if if you're around and you want to stop by to help, and
Yeah.
we're pulling up, and there's cars, and there's people's parents, and they got things to bleach, and the people are sending pizza, and
Yep.
my sister was in California, and her whole church came up from Detroit,
Hmm.
and friends I hadn't seen during COVID, and their masks are off, and they're bringing wine, and we're blasting when the levee breaks. That was my husband's idea. But like
Yeah.
that, to see that, and it's a true testament of friendship and a lot of people I didn't even know,
Hmm.
but a true testament of our community. And that was the experience. Like, even when the pictures come up and there's people sitting on our porch,
Yeah.
busting their butts, like
Yep.
ripping out wet carpet.
Yep.
And my mind just got all disorganized, but it was just like, it was very comforting. It was,
Yeah.
it was an experience we'll never forget.
One of the things I remember about that time was most of the homeowners who were dealing with the loss, they were trying to lead and coordinate the help that was coming, and they just were too emotionally overwhelmed to be able to
Right.
control it. I remember being in one basement, and the owner was he had people going every different direction and didn't have a good system, and it was just so overwhelming. So a lot of people came in who were not affected, and they were a little bit more objective and detached, and they were able to come in and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we dig out this wall first, and then we'll get rid of this stuff first, and then we'll take care of this, and we'll move this to the curb,
Yes.
and we'll
Yeah.
shear up this area and da da da. It was just hard, but I was probably never more proud of Midland than I was after that flood.
Right.
You couldn't go down the street and not see people helping out. And I guess if there's a tornado or a hurricane, things like that, or fire, that'll
Right.
happen in other areas, but I've never seen it up close. So I was really proud of Midland, and I think that Midland's a great community, and I think it's great that you are so involved in helping the community grow and donate money and support the great causes. So I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Erica, thanks for being on the Talk Midland podcast.
Oh, thank you, Logan.